Auzubillahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Dear brothers and sisters, I hope you guys are doing well. Today is the 17th of February. Again, I hope every single one of you are doing well. For those that are watching us through Sadai Haq on my show today, I hope you guys nothing but the best. May Allah keep you guys protected, safe, and give every single one of you good health. Dear brothers and sisters, thank you for tuning in to my show. Again, we are going to hit our 1 year, 1 year in completing our programs with Sadai Haq. So we had discussed, some of the programs that we want to include for the next year. So what will happen is that maybe in 2 weeks or so, what we're going to do is we're going to host a program where families can come in and take a look at the programs that we will be conducting and we'll be hosting for the prior year. And not just that, but we'll come and show it and showcase it with all of you that are watching us through TV, Facebook, social media, YouTube. So that way you guys get a better understanding of what it is that we want to do with Sadai Haq and how do we want to expand the program. Again, I'm very excited. We're all very excited for the new changes that we want to bring for Sadai Haq. So please stay tuned and for this year's event and programs. It will be very enjoyable. It will be very educational, both Islamically and through mental health lens, the lens of the mental health challenges and programs. So for that, let's get started with today's topic, dear brothers and sisters, so we can go ahead and dive into it. So today we're going to go ahead and talk about stress and health, and why that is important. I know a lot of us have questions about why stress. That's a simple question. Do people stress? Yes, people stress all the time. Either you are a child, you are an adult, a teenager, a senior adult. Every single person in life, they stress due to a certain situation, due to a certain circumstances in their lives, a certain event that causes them to stress. Even the smallest things in their life can cause them stress. And for that, we want to know what is stress. So just to define what is stress, brothers and sisters, stress arises when individuals perceive that they cannot adequately cope with the demanding being made on them or with treating threats to their own well-being. Somebody who cannot really adequately cope well when a certain situation takes place or a certain situation does come along. For instance, let's take some common life stressors, for instance. One of the biggest and the most hardish stressors in life for any individual, no matter who it is, it's to the child, you have brothers, sisters, parents. One of the biggest stressors of life that comes to an individual or towards an individual is a death of a loved one. When you lose a death, somebody who you really love in your life, that causes a lot of stress in your life. There's multiple reasons, multiple factors that causes those stresses, and then not just that, but it really harms you both psychologically, emotionally, physically, and spiritually as well. When you're stressed out, you have no control over life, no control over your own life. So for that, one of the most common stressors in life is when a death of a family member or death of someone that you know in the community. It plays a big toll on you, and if not just that, but it plays a big toll on everybody. Sometimes what ends up happening is that death is so hard for certain individuals. It's usually the first time they experience someone in their own family dying. So how do they cope with that? Some people they go out. Certain families are very good. Let me give you an example of it. Some families are so good that and they've learned how to cope in an earlier age. Is that when someone dies, usually during Friday, you hear janazas majority of times, or throughout the whole week after when people come in, they pray. When they're praying Dhuhr, what ends up happening is that there's a janazah that takes place, and then certain families, what they do is they'll go ahead and take their children to the grave site just so they can see and observe and understand as Muslims, this is the path. This is our path that anybody who is born has to return back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And for that, children, they learn to cope in an earlier age and in a very young age as well. But then you have those members of the community where they are really much oblivious, because let's say somebody, the family did not expose them to death. When somebody dies, they've never gone to a burial site. They've never gone to a khatam al-Quran. So for that, a lot of there's certain individuals or Afghans and Muslims in the community that they fear death themselves, and for that, when they lose someone, it hits them. The stressors of life, of that death, really causes a big impact on their life, where they don't know how to cope, because they've never gone through the process of what takes place when somebody dies. What is the meaning behind death? Why do people die? So those are certain things that we lack from our end, and for that, it makes it very difficult for family members. So again, brothers and sisters, now let's talk about some more common life stressors aside from death. We don't want to talk about death most of the times, but there's other things, multiple things that can happen, right? A person can get divorced, and that does happen, especially here living in the United States, or living in a different country. Wherever you're living, you see people having divorces, and that's because two people can't come together cannot come to a mutual understanding of living a healthy life, or a life that is to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and two people having two different visions, goals, and ideas of how they want to live their lives. Not just that, but how do they want to raise their kids. So in the process, they start, they damage their relationship, and for that, it leads to divorce. Sometimes, the two people, it just doesn't work out for two individuals when it comes to marriages. So for that does take place. Other common stressors, our brothers and sisters, are, for instance, loss of a job. As we all know, living in, especially those that live in America, that cost of living is very, very high. And for that, and depending on where you live, right? So for that, you can say, when someone loses their job, and specifically if you're somebody who's considered to be the breadwinner, as majority of times, as we know, anyone who's come to the U.S., specifically those, let's say, Muslims or Afghans, especially when it comes to males and females, or husband and wives that are over the age of 30, usually you'll see just the husbands working, right? And for them, the stress is even doubled, or it's much even harder for them, because now it becomes challenging. They rely on one income. So when that person loses their job, now what do? I know a lot of people say, governmental aid is there to help. It's very limited, brothers and sisters. It's not, they don't pay full amount, where you think that people that live here in America, the government really helps those that are low income families, or they have no jobs. Part of reality is that it's actually very difficult. I've personally witnessed actual Muslims becoming homeless because the money that they get from the government is just not sufficient enough, and the government pays so much where it covers just a partial cost of their living. They have enough to a partial cost of their food, and for that it causes a lot of issues. And the same thing, for those that are here, that are raised here, that are born here, or they come at a younger age, and then you have both husband and wife working. And now over here, now you have both husband and wife working, right? You have a good life. You have two two people working. So now imagine what happens is one of your partners stops working. It either be the guy, either he gets laid off, or he goes to school, or it's the female who who starts going to school full time, or they have a child. So now you're reliant on one income, right? So it becomes even difficult for you. Reason why is that you have lived in standards that are very high. So for that, when you lose two incomes, it becomes very stressful. Even though you have your job, that your partner does not have a job of their, no longer, or they're no longer working, or they're no longer providing finances, could also become a stressor on you, unless you are able to cope with making some life changes. How you're living, the cost of living. Okay, if this doesn't work out, if the cost of living is too high here, maybe we can live couple of blocks down in a different district. We used to shop in this store. Well, guess what? The cost of pricing is very high. Now we cannot afford, even though if we do afford it, it can strain us from doing other things, and we cannot save money. So for that, we can go ahead and buy groceries, or we can buy other furniture from a different store that's much cheaper. So those are ways of coping. But sometimes people, they're so used to buying high-end brands where they fall into a trap where life becomes very challenging for them, and it becomes very stressful for them, right? And same thing goes, dear brothers and sisters, for those individuals who actually start a new job. It's a very stressful situation for some of them. Reason why, again, is that when you start a new job, you're really you're basically kind of the new kid on the new block. So you want to impress individuals, you want to impress yourselves, the organization, anybody that is working with you, any partners, clients, just so you can prove yourself. You have this high expectation that you put on yourself, which causes you a lot of stress, right? But then again, you don't take the time to breathe and tell yourself, you know what, things will be okay, I just have to do my best. But what ends up happening is that even when we start a new job, we become very stressful. If I don't follow, or if I don't do what I am asked right away in the beginning, I can get laid off, I can get fired. But then again, a lot of people don't come to an understanding and realize that when you get a new job, again, you're supposed to make mistakes. When you come to a new job, you have a period of training, and then from there, you get about a month to 3 months to do some form of training, or 6 months training. I know police officers here in the States of California, they usually are new hires, new people that actually pass, their policing schools when they actually graduate from police academy. What ends up happening is that when they do get hired to a police department, that new police officer is actually paired up with a veteran police officer for the next 6 months to a year, just so they can learn from them. It takes that long, and then from there, then they'll go ahead and give that individual based on the evaluation made for that individual. If they're well equipped to go ahead and carry on and have their own independent vehicle, so they can drive around and patrol and get to crime scenes. The other thing we want to talk about, brothers and sisters, is again stressors of life. Another thing is finances. We have things like people getting married. There's a lot of stressors on that. As we know, especially here in the States, things are very different. A lot of people don't come to understand that when you get married nowadays, and especially when it comes to America, people don't tend to fall a lot on cultural beliefs and system, because that has failed. And research has shown, especially in the Muslim community, is that a lot of divorces takes place is the fact that a lot of people and a lot of families, they push a lot of the cultural factors into, for both the kids. It either be the boy or the girl. They try to push and feed off of doing cultural actions, or they have the kids take cultural actions, where the kids, they become so stressed out, and they're so in the process of marriage, it's so difficult for them when they're married. It becomes very hard for them. So for that, with cultural ideas and guidance that they're given, it never works out. It makes it actually more even difficult for families and for the newcomers or new couples that actually get married. And for that, what ends up happening is that, the boy and the girl, they're both not happy. So for that, they divorce. And now research has shown that if you follow the path of Islam purely, not culturally, not something where the way people lived life, let's say back in Afghanistan, in Pakistan, in India, Saudi Arabia. No, it's people living, in America, based off of, Islamic laws and rules. And what is it that the boy and the girl and the boy want is, Islamically, the marriage has been very successful. And that's something that, there has been research done consistently on this notion, and things have worked out really well. But again, it's a stressful situation when people get married, and that's because a lot of stress is put on the boy and the girl from the family, from both sides, the boys and the girls' family as well. The other thing we want to talk about, and what is some of other common stressors, brothers and sisters, are moving. You know, when a family moves, especially when it comes to, let's take a lot of our elderlies, when they move from one location to the other, there's a lot of stress that they feel, is that when they're moving to a newer place, they lose their family members, essentially. You know, you'll have a group of you know, brothers and sisters that live in the same community. They're moving further. They're losing their community members, their friends, you know, school, you know, their kids' schools, their own old job. So that becomes very stressful for them. And the other thing is that when it comes to children, it becomes even more difficult for them, is that when kids are taken away from the school and they're put into other school or a different school, it's even challenging from them, because with kids, it takes them time to make friends. And then when they do make friends, and then when you move them out, you know, kids don't really understand why they're being moved, or why are my parents actually moving us. They usually have the thought process or thought idea of telling themselves that, you know, they probably did something wrong. For that, their parents are moving them. You know, parents usually don't sit down and talk to their kids on why they make a drastic decision, because, you know, over here, I think the parents, they lack the importance that they need to let their kids know. You know, some families say, you know what, that's not their decision, it's not the kid's decision, it's our decisions. But deep inside, I've seen kids actually suffer big time because parents don't tell their kids, you know, they're moving. They just say, we're moving, that's it. So that becomes harmful, because when your child is moved to a new school, you have to come to an understanding that your child has a hard time making friends. They're new to that school now. They don't have anybody new, you know, so they get bullied most of the time. It takes some time to make friends, and that can become very challenging. Your kids might not tell you, but they do face a lot of challenges. Now let's get to chronic illnesses and injuries. That also becomes very stressful. When you have a chronic illness, that means that, you know, if someone who you know, also has a terminal illness, where they know, you know, they have limited time in living. So for that, they are constantly stressed out, because they're constantly thinking of death. They know that tomorrow they can fall, they can pass away, or they know if one of their loved ones, or you know, somebody has terminal illness, or they have a chronic illness. What ends up happening is that they're constantly living in this stressful situation where they don't know what can happen tomorrow. They don't know if their parents, or, you know, if their mom or dad are still going to be alive, or their brother and sister are still going to be alive, or it can be your child who can have chronic illness, and guess what? And that can be a very stressful situation for all of you. And then we come down to interpersonal conflict. For that, you know, you have internal battles. That means, you know, you're not able to concentrate well. You know, you're having a hard time sleeping. You sleep either too little or too much. At this time, you know, when you're very stressed out, you basically don't really sleep as much, because your mind is running and racing 24/7. Again, you'll have, you know, red eyes. Your heart's pumping very hard. You know, your blood pressure is going high. You're getting angry very easily. So those are common interpersonal conflicts that you have when it comes to having stress and stressors. You know, your abdomen starts hurting, and your hormone levels starts decreasing. You start aging, you start getting gray hair. Those are all part of stressors. And that's actually one of the things that I don't know if a lot of people understand or know, especially here in America. There's so much stressors that a lot of people actually, they lose their hair, or their hair goes white. You know, they get gray or white. So for that, those are difficult challenges for individuals, because people are constantly working, and then trying to make sense or make ends meet here in the States. So for that, it becomes very challenging. And then not just that, but taking care of an elderly or sick family member also is a very stressful situation. And the reason why I say that, brother and sister, is that you used to go ahead and you used to work, you used to be in school, but guess what? The moment a family member that, you know, of yours that got sick or gets sick is now in need of, you know, in-home support, in-home health, supportive services help. So they need somebody to be at home with them all the time. So what do? You quit your job, you quit your work to take care of your elderly. I think one of the things that a lot of the Muslims, they lack or they try not doing is that because of pride and because of cultural factors, they don't go ahead and seek. There's a program called in-home support services that would allow a sick family member that has someone who is very sick in the house to apply for this program, where this program will actually send a caregiver to take care of your loved one. Again, I know you guys are usually not for that, but to be honest, this is somebody coming to the house and taking care of the parent, the child, and it's called in-home support services, also known as IHSS. So please, if you can do that, it's good. If you have the means to pay, but do not quit your work. You can you can lower the hours of work you're doing, but do not take off full hours, because you'll also go insane. You're a human being. Staying with somebody let's say in the hospital for more than 2 days, you just start losing it yourself. You first of all, you don't get enough sleep. You're constantly awake. You're constantly worried, and that can also get you very sick. So for that, we always suggest that you can stay with somebody for 2 days. After that, there needs to be a routine change when it comes to family members. What we also want to talk about, dear brothers and sisters, is work-related stressors, and what do they look like? Being unhappy in your own job, going to work and knowing that you're unhappy, by seeing your coworker, by seeing your boss, can also make things very difficult for you. Your boss actually stresses you out. For that, you don't want to go to school. I mean, let's say, I'm sorry, I meant to say work. I'm saying school. So even let's say somebody, your child's getting bullied, right? Or you're somebody who's in school, you're getting bullied. You don't want to go back to school because you don't want to see that bully, or you don't want to go see that teacher because that teacher stresses you out. Your work coworker stresses you out. Your boss stresses you out. So that can play a big factor. Having a heavy load or too much responsibilities can also cause a lot of stressors. Working long hours can also harm you, both mentally and physically. Then there's also unclear expectations or no say in decision making. You're working at a place where this is part of my job description, but you don't have the decision making authority to do things. That also makes it very stressful for you, because then you're very limited. You're not going to grow. You don't get the opportunity to grow either. Working in dangerous conditions. You're a police officer. Guess what? Family members are always constantly stressed out because they don't know what can happen, to their loved ones. Family members who are risking their lives, like firefighters, folks that go out and battle, our soldiers that are out going in. It either be here in the United States, it either be back in Afghanistan. Every single military soldier that is out there, family members, they have concerns. There's family members that have died in the front lines. I know personally my family members have died in the front line, and they're continuously dying. Especially back in Afghanistan, but that's part of part of their work. They're in the military. They want to protect and serve the country, and for that they're losing their lives. But that is part of life for them, and for us too. The other thing is, brother and sister, is that insecurity about advancements or risk for termination is also very challenging and difficult. Not knowing are you doing good enough job at work where your boss is either happy or unhappy with you. Are they going to fire you? That's also a very stressful situation that can put a lot of strain on you when it comes to work. Again, having to give speeches in front of colleagues. I know a lot of college students, they have a hard time. Even not just college students, but even when people actually come to the workforce, they get a position where they have to go in front of people and they have to talk. And for that, it becomes very stressful for them, because they're not too confident about what they are going to say, or how to say certain things. So for that, it becomes a stressful scenario for them. And then again, lastly, is facing discrimination or harassment. It is also a challenging factor for people as well. So Now let's talk about what is the impact of stress. There's data that suggests that 60 to 80% of outpatient visits may be related to stress. So you have 60 to 80% outpatient people who actually come to seek therapy. Suggests that things in their life, majority of the things in their life are related to stress related. You've got linked to all leading physical health cause of death as well. So stressors are also connected to your physical health, like I mentioned earlier. And I'm going to also show you guys a video later where it actually helps you guys understand that it is true. And things that can, what stress over time leads to is, again, heart disease. You can get a heart attack, you can get a stroke, you can get cancer, because part of stressor is that when you're stressing out, your immune system weakens. So when your immune system weakens, you're easily capable of getting bacteria. When bacteria takes over, then you have illnesses. You can get sick easily. Then you get chronic sicknesses. Then you get terminal sickness. So those are all interconnected, brothers and sisters, and you have to be very mindful of that. And not just that, but also you have to remember, associated with developmental of most major mental health problems are also linked to things like depression, PTSD, pathological aging, which that means that the older you get, if you're stressing constantly, you can form a dementia and Alzheimer's. So you have to be very mindful, and you have to know your body very well, and you need the help. Or if you are going through stress, make sure that you seek proper help and proper attention, or you have the coping abilities to solve those issues. And we will go ahead and towards the end of my program, I will also discuss what are some of the things that you can do to help decrease stress levels, so that way you're not harming yourself or your loved ones around you as well. So again, now coming to impact of stress. Impact of stress, brothers and sisters, it also affects fatal developmental outcomes. So what that means is that there's also side effects of fetuses. So if it's most importantly, this is actually for the sisters and the brothers. But if someone is pregnant in the house and then they're constantly under stressors, you have to make sure that they're always in a constant battle of stress. When they're stressed out, actually I'm going to stop as there's Adhan. Alrighty, brothers and sisters, so that was the azan. Inshallah, what we'll do is we will go on a break in a couple of minutes very soon, so we'll go ahead and pray, and then for that, what I also wanted to suggest and say is that you have to make sure and remember that when a person is pregnant, you have to be very mindful that they don't go through stress. The moment a person goes through stress, that can become very devastating in a situation for that fetus at time of pregnancy for the mother, is that child can be affected physically, emotionally, and psychologically. What that means is that your child can be born having some form of physical disability or mental disability. So those are very important, or they can be born prematurely as well. Other things we want to avoid, where it's research has shown that predictions of negative health behaviors, also allows people to relapse in doing smoking and having alcohol abuse. So if you are constantly in a stress situation, what ends up happening is that you're going to go, and the way you cope with your stressful situation is that, I don't know if a lot of brothers and sisters know this, is that maybe this is somebody in your own household that actually do this, is that they smoke most of the time. That's due to stress. When people are smoking, it's due to stress. When people are drinking, is due to stress. Again, they are taking negative coping mechanisms to help fulfill that need for them to feel good at that time and at that moment and at that second. But in all reality, they're harming themselves as well. So it's always important, brothers and sisters, if you guys are smoking or if you guys are drinking, that is not the proper way to help yourself. you're causing more damage to yourself, to your health, to your family, not just that, to your future generation. So when your son or your daughter sees you doing that, tomorrow when they get older, they're going to do the same thing. So you have to remember not to do any of those things. Again, you need to seek help, you need to seek therapy for that. You know, what mental health professionals will do is that they'll help you cope better in a proper way, in a better manner. And again, I will discuss what those things are with you in a second as well. So brothers and sisters, let's talk about what are primary care stress management counseling and what does that mean. You know, national studies suggested that only 3% office visits include stress management counseling by primary healthcare physicians. So you have a doctor who you go to, you know, your MD medicine doctor. So what ends up happening is that what research has suggested that only 42% reported receiving no instructions regarding stress and health outcomes in medical education. So that means that a lot of our physicians today that are practicing, they don't get the training on stress management. If their client comes to them, they don't know how to help them because they haven't got the instructions, or proper training to solving those issues. The other thing is that 60% research has shown that 76% lacked confidence in their ability to counsel patients about stress. So they don't feel confidence. They don't feel confidence in talking about it. So for that, what ends up happening is that we also let the physicians know that if you come to a situation where you don't know how to solve this problem, you refer them out to us. And then that's where we come in and we'll go ahead and see those family members or individuals. And then lastly, 49% indicated a lack of referral sources. So that means that they don't know exactly where to go or where to send family members when it comes in time to, when they have a timing in dealing with family members as well, or with their clients. So brothers and sisters, what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop here and I'm going to go ahead and show you guys a video. It talks about how stress affects your body. So please enjoy the video, and then when we come back, we'll go ahead and we'll continue our program.
Cramming for a test? Trying to get more done than you have time to do? Stress is a feeling we all experience when we are challenged or overwhelmed. But more than just an emotion, stress is a hardwired physical response that travels throughout your entire body. In the short term, stress can be advantageous, but when activated too often or too long, your primitive fight or flight stress response not only changes your brain, but also damages many of the other organs and cells throughout your body. Your adrenal gland releases the stress hormones cortisol, epinephrine, also known as adrenaline, and norepinephrine. As these hormones travel through your bloodstream, they easily reach your blood vessels and heart. Adrenaline causes your heart to beat faster and raises your blood pressure, over time causing hypertension. Cortisol can also cause the endothelium, or inner lining of blood vessels, to not function normally. Scientists now know that this is an early step in triggering the process of atherosclerosis, or cholesterol plaque buildup in your arteries. Together, these changes increase your chances of a heart attack or stroke. When your brain senses stress, it activates your autonomic nervous system. Through this network of nerve connections, your big brain communicates stress to your enteric or intestinal nervous system. Besides causing butterflies in your stomach, this brain-gut connection can disturb the natural rhythmic contractions that move food through your gut, leading to irritable bowel syndrome, and can increase your gut's sensitivity to acid, making you more likely to feel heartburn. Via the gut's nervous system, stress can also change the composition and function of your gut bacteria, which may affect your digestive and overall health. Speaking of digestion, does chronic stress affect your waistline? Well, yes. Cortisol can increase your appetite. It tells your body to replenish your energy stores with energy-dense foods and carbs, causing you to crave comfort foods. High levels of cortisol can also cause you to put on those extra calories as visceral or deep belly fat. This type of fat doesn't just make it harder to button your pants. It is an organ that actively releases hormones and immune system chemicals called cytokines that can increase your risk of developing chronic diseases such as heart disease and insulin resistance. Meanwhile, stress hormones affect immune cells in a variety of ways. Initially, they help prepare to fight invaders and heal after injury, but chronic stress can dampen the function of some immune cells, make you more susceptible to infections, and slow the rate you heal. Want to live a long life? You may have to curb your chronic stress. That's because it has even been associated with shortened telomeres, the shoelace tip ends of chromosomes that measure a cell's age. Telomeres cap chromosomes to allow DNA to get copied every time a cell divides without damaging the cell's genetic code. And they shorten with each cell division. When telomeres become too short, a cell can no longer divide, and it dies. As if all that weren't enough, chronic stress has even more ways it can sabotage your health, including acne, hair loss, sexual dysfunction, headaches, muscle tension, difficulty concentrating, fatigue, and irritability. So, what does all this mean for you? Your life will always be filled with stressful situations, but what matters to your brain and entire body is how you respond to that stress. If you can view those situations as challenges you can control and master, rather than as threats that are insurmountable, you will perform better in the short run and stay healthy in the long run.
Dear brothers and sisters, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. It's a very good video. It's an educational video that I took from TED Talk. As you guys saw, the video really talked about stressors and what do they do biologically and genetically to your body. As we saw that it really messes up and it stops your reproduction of cells. Not just that, but it damages your cells and your gene system. For that, we saw certain examples that there's times where you can get excessive with stress levels being high. What ends up happening is that you can become overweight. A lot of those bad chemicals or chemicals and stressors causes you to have have more cravings for food. So for that, you're not constantly thinking straight, and when you're not constantly thinking straight, you start eating more. So when you eat more, you get big, and you're getting you're putting on more weight. And then one of the other good thing that we saw in the video is that they talked about you having bad acne. I know there's times where a lot of our when it comes to teenagers, they have bad acne. It's genetics as well as also is environmental, where when your child is stressed out, when your teenager is stressed out, or an adult stressed out, they start having acne. And that's because the immune system is becoming very weak. So when the immune system becomes very weak, again, I talked about it, you have sexual dysfunctioning, you will have stomach aches, your heart will start racing, you'll start having arthritis, you will have hair loss, your hairs will start turning gray. Those are some of the symptoms and causes of stressors in an individual's life. So please pay attention and know that these are very important factors and matters when people stress out. And again, in today's society in America, I know specifically people that and individuals that live in America, we're constantly under stress. We have to pay the bill, we have to make sure that we're paying rent, we're making sure that we are feeding our family, we're making sure that we're going to work, and we're making ends meet. And that's part of life stressors, working long hours. We're doing so much that a human body is not biologically fit to do, But what ends up happening is that even though that we're working, we tend to neglect ourselves. When we have time, instead of going and seeking things that are good for us, where we say, you know what, I'd rather just sit home and not do anything with that time and just rest, because I know tomorrow I'm gonna have to go to work and work twice as hard again. So what do we do in the middle, in the time frame of that period when you have nothing to do? Well, that's where we're going to go ahead and we're going to start talking about certain factors and implications of what can be done. So these are practices that you want to use and follow. Again, exercise is the number one thing that you want to do. It's one of the best things that you can do. Meditation is also very good. Research has shown that if you meditate, you are becoming mindful of being in a specific situation where you're taking everything in and you're focusing on what you're doing instead of focusing on what's causing you stress, because you're focusing on your breathing technique. When it comes to breathing, you have to remember when people breathe in and breathe out, that helps your body and your system relax. So you have to make sure that those are very important factors that we do, and I will talk more about it as we go further. So again, brothers and sisters, I'm going to talk about what are some of the things that diseases and illnesses cause or are caused by stressors. And then I have another video that I want you guys to see. It's actually a very good video that I really like. But things that I had mentioned earlier, but things the video will mention, but I will also mention as well, things that will take place would be, again, migraines, headaches, you got tensions, you got allergies. You're easily able to get allergies because your immune system is getting weaker, right? You are feeling your joints are starting to become dysfunctional. You're starting to have pain in your hand, in your bones, that starts to develop. Asthma, you start having breathing problems, shortness of breath, because your body's so exhausted and it's constantly, your heart's pumping. So when you start doing something that requires more force, that's going to cause you exhaustion. And then again, coronary heart disease, you're at a higher risk of having heart attack or a stroke. Again, ulcers are there, inflammation, arthritis, as I had suggested, bowel symptoms. Your stomach, when you're stressed out, it shrinks. So when it shrinks, whenever you eat, what ends up happening is that the moment you are to take before you eat the food, your body rejects it. The food, the smell, the taste, the texture doesn't feel good. Your body just wants to reject everything, because at that moment your body is in a fight, what is also known as a fight or flight mode, where your body is kind of rejecting and doing things on its own without you even having control over it. So you have to be very mindful of it. And then lastly, again, brothers and sisters, these stressors can cause cancer. So please be sure to know that you need to take these things very seriously. If you don't take them seriously, again, you can hurt yourself, your family, and others. Even if you're the person that's causing stress to somebody else, make sure that you're mindful of this. This is not something that you want to do. Especially as Muslims, we do not want to do this. These are things that we are not to do. Again, these are not best practices, because these are harmful things to ourselves and to the people we love and to the community or our ummah that we love as well. So before we go on, I actually want to show you guys a video that's actually very good. It talks about the effects of stress on your body. So please take a look at it. When we come back, we'll go ahead and talk.
Welcome to your tour of your body on stress. When you're stressed, your body reacts instantly. Here are 12 of the most significant changes that happen in your body. Your heart. Each time you experience stress, your heart beats faster and you put excess strain on it. Your blood pressure. Your blood pressure increases because it's pumping extra blood, oxygen, and sugars to your muscles to supply more energy. Remember, under stress, you trigger your fight or flight response, and your body responds as though you're under attack. Whether it's real, just a perceived threat, or you're just feeling the pressure and tension from your modern-day hectic life. Your blood pressure further rises because your body also narrows and constricts your blood vessels to prevent you from bleeding to death from injury. Your blood. Your blood starts clotting, which creates blockages in your circulatory system, preventing the free flow of blood through your body. This is another way your body protects you, so if you're injured, you won't bleed to death. Here's the challenge. Your blood will clot regardless of whether or not you really are injured. Your digestion. Stress severely affects your digestion. Under stress, your body shuts or slows down any systems that aren't absolutely necessary to deal with the immediate threat. At those times, your body does not care about digesting food. It only cares about staying alive. So the blood supply to your digestive organs is slowed. This can lead to weight gain, which many of us are trying to prevent through good nutrition and exercise. So even if you're eating healthy foods, your body won't be able to properly digest that food and extract the nourishment it needs because that system has slowed down. This can also lead to increased stomach acidity. It's no wonder that you turn on the television and hear countless ads for medication that help with acid reflux and stomach acidity problems. That's why it's essential to manage your stress so your digestion can be strong and process your nutrition properly each day. Otherwise, the food will just sit there and slowly make its way out while you continue to add more food, overloading your already slow digestive system. Your immune system. Like your digestive system, your body will suppress your immune system. Under stress, your body is less concerned with fighting disease. Its main focus is fighting off or fleeing from a perceived threat. So this means you're much more susceptible to getting sick and having less physical resources to fight that sickness. When people are upset and stressed about something, have you ever heard the phrase, "That makes me sick"? Well, yes, those situations can make you sick. Really. Your breathing. When you're stressed, your breathing switches from relaxed, slow, deeper diaphragmatic breathing to fast, shallow chest breathing. This can put a strain on your lungs and can lead to hyperventilation. Anxiety and panic attacks can also accompany shallow breathing. In challenging moments, we often tell people to please take a deep breath. Now you know. That's because under stress, we breathe much more shallow, preventing our bodies from receiving the much-needed oxygen to operate at its best. Your perspiration. Have you heard the phrase, "Don't sweat it," or "Don't sweat the small stuff," referring to people who are upset about so many things? Under stress, we can perspire excessively. People who are nervous and anxious often experience increased sweating. Even general nervousness can make us perspire. Your body sweats more to keep your body cool. Under stress, you put increased demands and activity on your body, and your body responds by sweating to keep us from overheating, which would really cause some serious internal damage. Your muscles. More blood flows to your muscles, giving them a burst of temporary strength. When this happens, we put pressure and strain on our muscles since they haven't been trained to actually handle the excess workload. This strain can lead to injury and over time sheer exhaustion. Most of us know that the best way to develop strength is consistent and steady weight training over time, not from pumping excess blood to our muscles and adequately you're able for increase our make stress aroused. Your stress hormones. Under stress, your body pumps out a flood of many stress hormones. Here are just a few. Your body pumps out adrenaline and noradrenaline, which alert our body that it's in danger and increases our anxiety and fear, making our thoughts race. These stress hormones also raise our heart rate, increase our perspiration, slow our digestion, and activate various body systems to temporarily boost energy supplies. Your body also pumps out cortisol, which is considered the primary stress hormone. Cortisol increases the sugar in your bloodstream, can cause the accumulation of fat around your belly, and is responsible for slowing digestion, immunity, reproductive systems, and growth and anti-aging processes.
Welcome back, dear brothers and sisters. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. It's one of my favorite videos that actually gives you a better visual, graphic understanding of what is stressors like and what are the different variations of how it affects the human body when you have stress. So again, it's you saw the video. I hope it helped. Please take note of it. These are very important factors that is very harmful to your body when you are under stress. So make sure that we are taking care of ourselves, and for that, benefits of stress reduction and what can happen when we are less stressed out. So I'm going to go ahead and talk about that, and then kind of talk about the coping mechanisms of what you should do to help better your stress. So again, let's talk about what are some of the benefits of stress reduction, or when you're trying to reduce your stress levels, how that can help you. So number one, it allows you to have better concentration and focus. A lot of times you're stressed out. You go to work. You're not working well enough. You're not working to your best of potential because you're very much stressed out. And that's because you're under pressure. You have to meet deadlines. You're not able to deliver, or you're not able to do a certain task or a job very well because you're limited to time very short. And your time is very short, so for that you're under stress. So when we have a longer time period where we've managed our tasks, let's say for instance I'm using work, it makes it much easier. We have better focus, better concentration. So that's one thing that helps with stress reduction. Second is that more stable moods. Somebody who has less stress in their lives, their moods of staying happy they're usually happy most of the times. When they're under stress, you can tell that individual is either on they look very paranoid, very hurried. Life is going very quickly for them. They're very disoriented, where they don't know who's around them. They kind of go really quickly. They try to live life very fast in a fast pace. So that makes it very difficult for them. The other thing is that improved communication and relationships. When you're less stressed out, you have a better communication skills with other individuals in your life. And not just that, but you have a better relationship with your loved ones, your partner, your children. Not just that, but people that you see in the community, people around you at work. You're able to work better with them because you're not under stress. When you are under stress, you become very easily hesitant. As we saw the video priorly, talked about how your blood pressure goes up. When your blood pressure goes up, and when you're sweating, and you're constantly you have tensions, you're not thinking well. When you don't think well, what ends up happening is that you start getting very angry. At that moment, if you don't have good communication skills, and then if your stress levels are high, guess what? You'll burst something, or you'll say something to hurt your loved one, or somebody that you know at your work. And for that's what we say, when you're less stressed out, it's more beneficial for you, brothers and sisters. The other thing is that better physical health. Again, having physical health is really important. I know a lot of us, especially when it comes to the Muslim community, and more importantly to the Afghans, this is something that you guys need to do, is you guys need to go out and exercise. It either be the husband or the wife. Go together. Things, when it comes to, getting things done at home, with your children, preparing food, things will get done. What's more important is your health. Make sure that you're going out and you're exercising. What exercise allows you to do is that when you're walking, when you're running, or you're jogging, when there's more blood flow in your body, what ends up happening is that the blood is now going through your brain, your body, and that helps you think clearly, because now you have more dopamine. You've released more dopamine, your brain feels good, it feels relaxed, and you can think much better. So when you don't exercise, it causes health issues. And for that, we always say, always have good physical health. Go out and exercise. Go out to the beach. Go for a walk. At least if you can't go if you can't have extended or excessive exercising, if you can't go and hit the gym for a good hour or two, go for half an hour a day. It helps. It helps you think clearly. You'll have easier time making better decisions in life. And then the other thing that we want to discuss is increased sense of control in time and activity. If you're less stressed out, you're able to control your life much easier. You're not multitasking. Even when you're multitasking, you have a better time or a sense of time and activities. You are being able to manage your time in your daily activities in a proper manner than actually rushing and doing things very difficultly. So that's why I always suggest that you guys should always make sure that you're doing your best to reduce stress, to help you improve yourself in a good way, in a positive way, brothers and sisters. So now we're going to talk about some interventions, but even before we do that, those are what we talked about were interventions, but what we want to do now is talk about strategies that you do not want to work, that does not work. So remember, these are things that do not work when it comes to, quote unquote, when we always say is try to be more positive. That doesn't work. If you know somebody who's always stressed out, or if I'm talking to you right now, if I sit here and I tell you, you know what, just be more positive in life and you'll feel good. It doesn't work out that way. You have to make initiatives. You have to go out and make implementations. You have to go out and work for it. Whatever, you know, it's like you taking an exam, a board exam, or if you're in school, you know, a college student or a child, when it comes to a young child, you're in school, you can't just get an A and feel good. You have to study for an exam, do good on the exam. Once you get that passing grade or the A, then you feel really good, right? So that's how it is with stress. When you have stress, you need to go out and do other things. For instance, exercising. You have to go and meditate. Those things are some form of examples that can help you, because you'll see good results and that will make you feel good. Same way, this is a concept. You can't just try to be positive. It's not going to work out. The other thing is that everything will be okay. Saying that everything will be okay, I mean, how do you know? You know, I don't even know if things are going to be okay, to be honest. You know, it's like I can't just go and tell somebody, don't worry about it, you're stressed out, but things will be okay. You know, well, how do I know? Things could even get worse for that individual, as far as I know. You know, so you just have to be very rational. You have to be very practical when it comes to these things. So please remember that. Don't stop worrying is also another factor that does not work for an individual if they're stressed out. So please be mindful. These are some of the terms that I'm using to help you understand what are the do's and what are not the do's. All right. So these are things that do not work. If you have tried it, again, it will not work. You can try it, but it's not going to work. Again, don't worry. Be happy. These are all just words that I'm saying. Thought stopping, you know, avoidance and numbing are issues. If you feel that you're numbing out, you think that, or if you're trying to avoid a certain situation or stressful situation, it's gonna make things easier. It really doesn't. You have to face the challenge. You have to be able to overcome the challenge. That's how things get better. You need to be able to fight, or you need to be able to solve, you know, what are the stresses in your life and how can you handle those. What you're basically doing is you're basically being able to have control over your life, and for that you need to implement. You need to take a step forward to make those changes. You telling yourself all positive things will not help you. So remember that, brothers and sisters. Alcohol and drug usage, again, is not going to be very helpful for you, so please try to avoid all that. And again, if you are somebody who's smoking or drinking, please remember, if you smoke or drink, your son, your child, you know, be your son or daughter or your grandchildren, they'll look at you and they'll do the same thing. So remember that it's a wheel that constantly just continues to keep going. So you don't want to start a trend that is forbidden in Islam, and not just that, but it's very harmful and there's no barakah in your life. So please try not to do it. Again, if you have an issue where you cannot help yourself control when it comes to drugs or alcohol, please seek a therapist. If there's also treatment plans, there's also programs out there where you have to go and you have to put your time into it. You telling yourself, you know what, I'm just not going to do it, it becomes difficult. You know, you have to put your actions, and you have to put your trust in the faith. You know, the moment you do that, then you have to take action. When you take those actions by going to different facilities, by going to a therapist to help yourself, you know, stop the usage of drugs and alcohol will help you big time. So please take those advantages if you can. And again, distractions and procrastination is also not very helpful, and it won't be helpful as well. And lastly, 77% of the chronically noxious can improve with cognitive thoughts and behavioral strategies as well. So again, let's talk about what are certain things that actually do help when it comes to stressful situations. There's something called cognitive behavioral therapy that is used in therapy called CBT. It's very structured, and it's brief and timely. It's timed, time limited therapy. So it's very easily structured, and we help individuals, kind of have a better structure of how to use, how to manage their behaviors through their cognition. However they think, we want to be able to help them align their emotions and their behaviors together. That's what so that's what ends up happening. The way they an individual's behavior is when they make irrational decisions, we want to be able to make them sit, help them focus on their current behavior and what they're doing, and then from there, what we do is we'll help them understand why they're doing a certain task, what's causing them to do these kind of behaviors, and then from there, once they come to an understanding that this is not a good thing that I'm doing with my behaviors, I'm hurting myself, I'm hurting my family. So for that, once they're cognitively aware of what they're doing wrong, then we go ahead and we implement cognitive behavioral therapy to help them rationally take action and acknowledgement of knowing that they have control over their behaviors. So that's one of the form of therapy that is used when it comes to counseling. Again, empirically supported to treat a range of clinical problems. With CBT, not just stress, but it also helps deal with an anxiety disorder or insomnia. Depression is also a big one, eating disorders, and then chronic pain as well. So again, brothers and sisters, I know I'm going through all of this, but what I'm going to do is I will go ahead and go through a couple of more slides and then show you guys another video of how stress affects your brain. And it's also another good video. I've chosen very good videos for you guys to help you guys understand, how stress affects your body, your emotional side, your genetic side, and also your brain. So that way you can kind of get a good picture of why you should try to do your best to not stress too much. And then towards the end of the video, I will have a video of a sheikh who actually talks about why stress from an Islamic point of view, why you shouldn't stress as well. So for that, just please stay tuned. I will not be taking questions today. So what we'll do is when we come, inshallah, next week, we'll go ahead and then we will take more questions as we go further. If you have any comments, you can leave them on Facebook for me, and I will go ahead and answer your questions either today. If not, maybe I can do them next week. But I will get to your questions. So please, again, bear with me as we go forward. Now again, problem-focused coping. What is that, and how does that work? How do we focus on having coping mechanisms that can help our stress or stress levels, right? So what are, when we have problems, how do we focus on fixing it now? Well, problem solving is very important. You got to be able to have problem solving skills. Getting organized is part of it. The moment you're able to organize, your life, decisions, and behaviors that you take, that will help you reduce your stress levels. Just drink some water. The other thing is, brothers and sisters, that getting organized is very helpful. Number two is time management. It's very important for you to have time management skills. If you don't have time management skills, that will not help you. It will not help you because now you're racing. You're going to be very disorganized. You're not going to know when things are happening in your life, when you need to go to your meetings, when there's programs that are when do you have family programs, when do you have your child's basketball game, football game, their drama class, their debate team, or after school program. When do those things take place? When do you have your assignments due? When is work projects being done? Those are important things that you have to put in your calendar and make deadlines for yourself. Assertive communication to manage interpersonal stressors, and not just that, but obtaining instructional social support is also important for you too. Now we're going to go ahead and talk about what are some emotional focused coping. Distraction with pleasurable activities. So those include things like, going out to the gym, hanging out with your friends, talking to a friend, going out with your spouse, going out with your kids, having a family day. Those are good emotional focused coping mechanisms, and you want to do that. Again, the first one we talked about was problem focused coping mechanisms, being very organized, timely rigid, well-mannered, and having problem solving skills, making sure that you're making rational decisions. And then secondly, we want to go ahead and focus and talk about emotional focused coping. And then for that, again, you want to be able to talk to your friends. You want to be able to use and have breathing techniques. Be able to know, when you're going through stressors, when you go through a certain situation in your life where you freeze or you go through stress or an anxiety as well, what do? You want to stop at that moment, think to yourself, why is my heart beating so fast? Why am I breathing so quickly? For that, what you want to do is, or you start sweating, is that you want to just give yourself a couple of seconds and kind of breathe in and breathe out. Do that for good 5 seconds. Breathe in, count for 5 seconds, and then breathe out. That will help you. That will help you control your body. So what ends up happening is that you're actually going to be able to control the fight or flight mode, where your body goes in a fight or flight mode. This is what ends up happening. You stop your body from taking charge of your own body versus you not having any control. So we want you to have that control. For that, you have to be very mindful. You relax yourself, even if you're about to panic. If you are panicking, just stay where you are. Think. The number one thing that works really well is your breathing techniques. Focus on your breathing. The more you focus on your breathing and lowering your blood pressure and your heart rate, things will get better. If it doesn't, and if you know there's something wrong, and if you don't know how to control yourself by breathing, you're going to go ahead and cause more damage to yourself. You'll start panicking more. You'll think that something is wrong with you. You'll start thinking negatively. So for that, we always say breathing technique is always the best. And what you also want to do is, with breathing techniques, when you breathe in, breathe out, your body actually relaxes. When it relaxes, you can think clearly. You don't have to focus on your body now. Again, it makes you mindful that you are at a certain place right now. Your brain is not anywhere else. You don't need to worry about what's going on. You're focused on the current moment and the current situation. And not just that, but obtaining emotional support will also help as well. Again, brothers and sisters, problem solving, step one is to define the problem. Step two is brainstorm solutions. Once you find the problem, what is it that causes you stress? You brainstorm the situation or the solutions to it. Third is weigh alternatives. Is it harming me, or is it not? Is it not harming me? Weigh the pros and cons. Select best alternative. What is it that you can do, or what is it that you want, and what's best for your health? Number 5 is implement strategies. You can always use, best practice. Again, breathing techniques are very helpful. Knowing that somebody that causes you stress, you can form a sense of boundary around them and yourself so they don't cause you stress. Number 6 is monitor progress and see how you're doing once you implement those strategies. You're going out to the gym. You know that people that you hang out with is not the best group or next best crowd for you. But what you want to do now is that because you hang out with this particular part of group of people, they stress you out. So what you want to do is you want to go ahead and change your setting in the group where you want to go ahead and hang out with different people. And then after that, once you start hanging out with new people, you want to be able to monitor your progress to see are you still feeling the same way or not. If you feel better, that means that it was the group. If not, that means that it wasn't the group, but there is something that's going on that you have to dig in deeper and find out more. And not just that, but step 7 is to go to step 1 if needed. Again, if you want to be able to monitor it, And then if you know that that situation did not work, then you want to go back and define the problem again. So again, this is a process that goes on and on. Brothers and sisters, we talked about time management and why that is important. What you want to do is roughly 168 hours in a week. And for that, keeping a time diary is very helpful. Being able to write down, how you spend your time is very important, and then it helps you in the long term. My whole, daily life activities, what I do at work, what I do personally for my life, family life, community life, working with different organizations, everything is locked in my phone. So anytime I know, I have a program, I commit to something, and if I'm going to go somewhere, I take out my phone and, I write down and I save, and I go to my calendar and I save the event that will take place, that will be taking place. So what that does is that's when I log in my event to my phone, what ends up happening is that my phone will go ahead and save it to my computer, and then a day prior to it or that day of it, it's going to send me a reminder that you have this program taking place. So that gives me enough time to make changes, change plans, and then go ahead and write things down again. So it's very helpful if time management is very important, brothers and sisters. Again, what things do you do that will that you are good at? What things do others do better than you? Again, those are part of time management. When do you tend to waste time? Again, you have to be able to know, why do you waste time? If you are wasting time, how can you help better yourself in that? What brings you meaning in life? You have to be able to answer that question. These are questions that you have to answer for your own best results. And for that, you have to talk about, what brings you meaning in life? What's important for you? What brings you happiness? What helps you thrive in life? And for that makes it easier there. Is your time focused on what you value most and are best at? Are you focusing on the most important things in your life or not? And then lastly, learn to say no and delegate. It's very important, especially for those that are at work. When people are working, I've seen this a lot, sometimes even at my work or other people's work, is that when someone tells a worker or you in your personal life, your siblings, your parents, your family, your people in the community, they have high expectations of you, but you know what? You need to learn to say no sometimes. It's very important. You can't just be on a time rigid just because somebody said something and have to make them happy. I'm doing this for them so they're happy, and you hurt yourself. Don't do that. You need to learn to say no. And not just that, but also learn to delegate. It's very important. It's a very important part of life and life management, and it helps you have lower stress levels. Again, other tips for managing time would be it's a clarity and set SMART goals. It's a word that's called SMART, but every letter has an acronym. For S is specific, M is it's measurable. Things that are, what are measurable things? Then you have to see if they're achievable, if it's relevant to you or not, if it'll work or not, and then time-based. Again, you want to be able to monitor your progress and then celebrate successes and examine failures. Those are very important factors for you. And again, brothers and sisters, before we go on and talk more, I'm going to go ahead and share another video with you guys. So I hope you guys enjoy it. And when we come back, we'll go ahead and talk about it. So this video is going to be on how stress affects your brain now. So please enjoy it, watch it, and when we come back, we'll talk.
Are you sleeping restlessly, feeling irritable or moody, forgetting little things, and feeling overwhelmed and isolated? Don't worry, we've all been there. You're probably just stressed out. Stress isn't always a bad thing. It can be handy for a burst of extra energy and focus, like when you're playing a competitive sport or have to speak in public. But when it's continuous, the kind most of us face day in and day out, it actually begins to change your brain. Chronic stress, like being overworked or having arguments at home, can affect brain size, its structure, and how it functions, right down to the level of your genes. Stress begins with something called the hypothalamus pituitary adrenal axis, a series of interactions between endocrine glands in the brain and on the kidney, which controls your body's reaction to stress. When your brain detects a stressful situation, your HPA axis is instantly activated and releases a hormone called cortisol, which primes your body for instant action. But high levels of cortisol over long periods of time wreak havoc on your brain. For example, chronic stress increases the activity level and number of neural connections in the amygdala, your brain's fear center. And as levels of cortisol rise, electric signals in your hippocampus, the part of the brain associated with learning, memories, and stress control, deteriorate. The hippocampus also inhibits the activity of the HPA axis, so when it weakens, so does your ability to control your stress. That's not all though. Cortisol can literally cause your brain to shrink in size. Too much of it results in the loss of synaptic connections between neurons and the shrinking of your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain that regulates behaviors like concentration, decision-making, judgment, and social interaction. It also leads to fewer new brain cells being made in the hippocampus. This means chronic stress might make it harder for you to learn and remember things, and also set the stage for more serious mental problems like depression and eventually Alzheimer's disease. The effects of stress may filter right down to your brain's DNA. An experiment showed that the amount of nurturing a mother rat provides its newborn baby plays a part in determining how that baby responds to stress later in life. The pups of nurturing moms turned out less sensitive to stress because their brains developed more cortisol receptors, which stick to cortisol and dampen the stress response. The pups of negligent moms had the opposite outcome, and so became more sensitive to stress throughout life. These are considered epigenetic changes, meaning that they affect which genes are expressed without directly changing the genetic code. And these changes can be reversed if the moms are swapped. But there's a surprising result. The epigenetic changes caused by one single mother rat were passed down to many generations of rats after her. In other words, the results of these actions were inheritable. It's not all bad news though. There are many ways to reverse what cortisol does to your stressed brain. The most powerful weapons are exercise and meditation, which involves breathing deeply and being aware and focused on your surroundings. Both of these activities decrease your stress and increase the size of the hippocampus, thereby improving your memory. So don't feel defeated by the pressures of daily life. Get in control of your stress before it takes control of you.
Welcome back, brothers and sisters. I hope that you guys enjoyed the video. Again, the videos are very good videos, very educational videos. It's something that I'm also learning more about as well. Every day that I come in, or every week when I'm here, it's not just that you guys are learning or you guys are being educated on a specific topic. I myself, I learn more and more about topics of discussion. It either be everything that's related to behavioral health. There's so many things that we don't know, that everything is interconnected. So for that, I'm actually very thankful to come out and to share this with everyone, even if it means helping someone understand how they're feeling, how they're learning about things. Even if you are a parent, if you are a senior, if you are a child, if you're watching my show and it is helping you, I'm very happy to hear that. And I'm also very happy to know that it's helping you. And not just that, but it's also helping me understand that what I'm doing is good work, and I'm trying to do the best that I can to do more. And if not, please always leave your comments. You can call us at our studio, or leave me a comment on Facebook. We also have our own page It's called Sadai Haq TV. On Facebook, please do like us and follow us. We usually have a lot of our programs there. We'll also share programs that are not included on on Sadai Haq channel, TV channel, that is being streamed internationally through Jadoo or Jilviz or the satellite. But we have different programs. If we ever go out and do seminars, we will go ahead and post those as well for you guys. So again, brothers and sisters, let's go ahead and talk about what are things that we talked about that can help lower stress levels, and those things can be, again, seeking social support, talking to others, for instance, your family members, your friends, neighbors, clergy. You're going to talk to your imams, local imams, sheikhs. Those are very helpful. Professionals, you really need that, because we, as human beings, we need guidance. Not just that, but we need consultations. It doesn't mean that a person, for instance, like myself as well, just because I'm a mental health practitioner and professional, doesn't mean that I know everything. I also go ahead and consult. I go ahead and I seek assistance from other professionals to make sure that I know what is being said, or whatever they tell me. I ask and consult with a couple of different individuals or professionals to make sure that the information is accurate. If not, I make sense of it, and I put everything together to make sense of that notion. So one of the best things is that you don't have to go to one person and hear from one person. So today, if you're here, you're listening to me talk, discussion of stress, you can go ahead on YouTube, you can go ahead on different channel. If somebody talks about stress levels, you can, by all means, listen to them, hear them out. It's everybody's going to go ahead and talk about, they have different point of view of, stress levels, stressors, how to deal with stress. But then again, the best thing is that, even though that I talked about stress, it might not work out for some of you. Some of you might go ahead and hear and listen to someone else speak, and that's going to help. Or some of you go ahead and hear other people talk about a certain topic. It doesn't work out for you. Hear me and you say, oh wow, that makes sense. Everyone is different. Everybody delivers differently. Everybody's able to relate differently, based on their experience, their work. So please make sure, one of the other things that we want to tackle is that, seeking social support. It is very important for those that have high stress levels. And now coming to monitor expectations, what we said and what we want to talk about is that emotional support, being able to listen to your problems and care about your feelings is very important, especially when it comes to your emotional side, so in its emotional sense of being. Then we have our practical support. What that does is that helps gets things done. Now, what ends up happening is that, for instance, let's talk about practical support. Things that you want to be able to help get things done. What are those things, right? Let's say if you have people coming over to your house, your wife is preparing food, guess what? Go in there and help them out. I know, usually with our community, the men are taught not to be in the kitchen, but again, Islamically, and as a human being, somebody who can think rationally, is that you guys are together as one team. Your reputation is one, so you might as well go ahead and help out. It doesn't hurt. If, for instance, if you are doing something, if you are outside, or let's say you are outside cleaning your car, and then you have guests coming over, your wife can go ahead and get the grocery. That's part of teamwork, and you want to be able to do things practically, just so you can keep yourself busy as well. Now we want to talk about informational support. What that does is that it gives advice or information to myself, yourself, and others about how to monitor expectations. And that's basically by knowing, what is being given and what are the advices given to me. And then lastly is companionship support. Does things together with you for fun. People coming in, hanging out with you, your family, your spouse, your kids coming to you, or you're going to them to have a good time, or, and working together as one. That's very helpful. Again, I had stated earlier what is very important for you at the moment when you're stressed out, or let's say even when you have an anxiety or a panic attack. One of the best things that you can do at that moment when you're freaking out and your body, you have no control over your body, is that learning how to have proper breathing techniques skills. It's actually a technique that is actually that we clinicians ask people to use, and it's very helpful. Not just that, but it helps you really be mindful of the situation, be in control. That's the main thing, is control. Be in control of the situation at that given time. About your, having control over your body. That's kind of the number one biggest factor. What we always say is that, get into a comfortable position, close your eyes if needed, and then again, place one hand on your chest. You can place one hand on your chest and the other one on your abdomen, and that's on your stomach. And what you want to do is you want to breathe in, count 5 seconds to yourself, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Breathe out, and make sure you're knowing that you're understanding that you're breathing in, breathing out, and you feel that movement of your body, and you're able to. What you're trying to do is, when you put your left hand in your stomach, you're trying to see if there's air coming in and if there's air coming out. What you're doing with your right hand, when you place it on your chest, is making sure that your heart rate goes down. That's what you're basically monitoring. Not just that, but you're able to feel and you're able to control your body. Once that happens, it makes your life much easier when it comes to stress management. So please try. Please, I recommend you doing this. And not just that, but even to start off, practice. Have a practice moment with yourself, with your family, with your kids. Kids are very important to do. Have this practice with, because a lot of kids, they go through, as they get older, they go through different experiences and they don't know what to do at a moment where they freak out, right? So for that, you have to let them know even before they take a test. You have to let them know, son, daughter, and when you're stressed out, what you want to do is you want to put your hand on your chest and the other hand on your stomach. You breathe in, you feel the air come in, and you breathe out. So you want to be able to feel your stomach, and you want to be able to feel your heart rate, so that way you have control over yourself. Once you know that your heart rate is good, then it helps you think better. So if you can, please practice it 5 to 10 minutes a day. It would be very good for you. Not just that, but it also makes progressive muscle relaxation. It's also a relaxation technique that can help you in your muscles breathe much easier. Research has shown that it also decreases pain. It improves, not just that, but it also improves sleep. If you are having less stress levels, increased in your energy, your energy levels are going back high. You're not fatiguing anymore. You don't have, you don't have asthma. Your heart's not pumping, or that's not working hard enough, or too much, overly, excessively for no reason. So now it's much easier. Again, decreased perceived stress and anxiety is very helpful. Improve your relaxation skills. Lower heart rate is also a very good thing to have. So before we go on and finish up, I have 2 more videos. One is now, I'm going to go ahead and now talk about, show you guys a video that talks about how stress affects your health, physical health. So for that, please take a look at this when you come back. We'll finish off, and then I have a video, one of the sheikhs that actually talks about stressors and why you shouldn't stress. So we will go ahead and watch the video, and when we come back, we'll discuss a little more.
Stress is part and parcel of living in modern society these days, and it can really play havoc with our health. Because when you're under stress, all roads lead to the refrigerator. When you're under stress, you light up cigarettes. When you're under stress, you don't exercise. And so we need to figure out what to do about stress. There are 3 things that I would suggest to you that will help you manage stress. The first is exercise, exercise, exercise. When you exercise on a daily basis, your brain produces endorphins that make you feel like you are more in control. And a lot of us are stressed because we think our lives are out of control. This really helps. Number 2, have a sense of perspective. It's not the event that causes stress, it's the way we look at the event that causes stress. And so if you look at it positively, then you are able to help manage your stress more successfully. And number 3, understand what your fundamental goals and values are and ask the question, am I living in concert with these goals and values? There's a simple and easy little test that we can take to see where you are with your goals and values. It's called the epitaph test, and it goes like this. If you were to die today based on the way you're living today, what goes on the stone? I did this in a seminar and I had this male voice from the back of the room say, "This isn't going so well." And I said, "What's the problem?" And he said, if I died today, we'd have to put on the tombstone, "Here lies the best widget salesman in the 11 western states." And I said, "Well, what would you prefer?" He said, "Well, I'd much rather have been known as a wonderful husband and a terrific father, but I'm traveling all the time and I never get to see my family." It was a considerable source of stress for him. I saw him a year later. "How you doing?" I asked. He said, "I'm the best widget salesman in 4 western states." He said, "I've cut down my territory. I'm still very productive." But he said, "Now I coach my children's baseball team. I'm home enough to be a full partner to my wife." He said, "If I died today, husband and father goes on the stone." So stress is part and parcel of living in modern society, but we don't have to accept it. We can learn how to manage that stress effectively with exercise, with perspective, and with paying attention to goals and values.
Dear brothers and sisters, welcome back again to the show. Great videos from my perspective. Which I really enjoyed watching all the videos that I've been showing you guys, and it's been very helpful visually too, because I know times even for me when I explain a certain thing, I know some of you might not understand, but I try to back up those evidences with research, because usually I go based off of research and I discuss the matter of, let's say for instance from today's talk is stress and stressors. When I discuss these matters, some of you might not understand, so for that I bring in videos as well. I usually do research. I'll give you data. I'll give you research worth of what stressors are. I'll give you real life examples, and then I'll also put a visual to it so you guys can better understand what I am talking about, because everyone is different. So for that, that's why kind of some of the stuff, if it's a repeat, please try to understand that I'm trying to do my best to help you understand and help your kids and the family understand what I am trying to relate to you guys. All right, so I hope things are going well. So again, now we're getting back to mindfulness. Being fully aware and being in the present moment is very helpful when it comes to it. Not judgmentally, opposite of autopilot or multitasking. You want to be able to put yourself in the moment and breathe and know that you are here at this moment. If you're watching TV, make sure that you're fully engaged with what I'm saying, not what is going on, what is going to happen tomorrow, what will take place 2 days from now or a week from now. You want to be able to enjoy the time in the moment at this current time. You want to be able to go and spend time and live life based on on a day-to-day basis. You don't want to jump what will happen in a week, what will happen in a month. You don't want to do that. The more you do that, the more stressed you get. So it's always important you live life one day at a time. You want to pre-plan for things that you want to have short-term and long-term goals, but for that, until you get there, what you want to do is you want to live life one day at a time. It makes life very easy for you guys, and I'll be fully honest with you. Again, you want to allow what mindfulness does is that it also allows us to be aware of actions and emotions. What are the things that we're doing? What the actions that we take, how is that affecting us emotionally? Is it affecting us in a positive way or in a negative way? Those are very important things that we have to consider. Increases our ability to prioritize, focus, and make life choices that are consistent with our values. And then lastly, associated with decreased stress and improved mental and physical health as well. So mindfulness is very important, brothers and sisters. Knowing that you have control over your life, you know what you want to do, it makes it very easy for you. And then again, lastly, practicing mindfulness, is by doing mindfulness meditation, mindfulness techniques, breathing techniques, as I stated, how you should do it. It's very helpful. Please try it. And then again, yoga, it's very good. again, mindfulness-based stress reduction is very good for those that want to help themselves. So again, brothers and sisters, thank you so much for being with us for today. This will be it for me. So if you guys have any questions, please leave your comment on Facebook. Also, if you have anything that you guys want to discuss, know this, that we have an official page on Facebook, Sadai Haq. Please like us, please follow us. If you ever miss our shows through TV, you can go ahead and see the recap of our shows through Facebook. It's much easier. If you can leave your comments, you can come engage with us in having a dialogue. What is it that you guys want us to do? What is it that you guys want to see more? It makes it much easier for us as well. So to make it short, please stay tuned. I will put out a video. We will have a video from Sheikh Hassan Yi. He is an imam and a sheikh who will talk about why stress. It's a 25-minute video. Please enjoy it. But for now, that is it for myself. I hope you guys have a great rest of the weekend. I know for some of us it's a President Day weekend. It's a long weekend, so please enjoy it. And then when we come back, we'll talk again the following week. And that is it for me. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
That life's a borrowed space, returned upon rest.
إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا وسيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما وبعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. May Allah's mercy and blessing and peace be upon all of us. Amen. Hello brothers and sisters in Islam. We know that living in this world, we are going to go through a lot of tests from Allah. There will be worried, there will be stress, there will be a lot of tension, there will be a lot of problem. There is the sunnatullah of this world. It is impossible for anybody who said that he believes in Allah to say, I have no problem. Because problem is part of life. Stress, tension, all this is part of life. Nobody can escape from all this. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Quran, فَإِنَّمَا الْعُسْرِ يُسْرًا إِنَّمَا الْعُسْرِ يُسْرًا. Why does he remind us? He said that difficulty first, then you come ease. Difficult first, then you ease. That means you must go through some difficulty, some hardship before you want to understand and appreciate the blessing, the ni'mat of Allah. Nobody have no stress in this world. Even the Prophet have a lot of stress. He got to think about his ummah, how to save this ummah, how to convey the message of Allah. He is very worried. He do not worry because of dunya. He worried because of us and for akhirah. We also get worried, but most of the time we got worried about dunya. Now there are a few things that we must know. We know that Allah is the one who created us and put us in this world. And the nature of this sunnatullah, there will be problem. When you have problem, you are stressed. You have tension, you are worried. So it's common. Don't have to worry about that. What is important, we must know as a believer, as a Muslim, how do we tackle stress? How do we overcome all these problems? The first thing that you must remember, Allah who created us know our problem more than what we know. He knows everything. He knows about our family problem, our health problem. So who should you call upon first when you have this problem? When you have stress and worry, you should call Allah first. Call upon Allah. That's why Allah said, Udu'uni astajibu lakum. Invoke me, call me. Why don't you call Allah? Why are you running from Allah? and you want to solve your problem, do we think that you can solve your problem by yourself without the help of Allah? Then you are wrong. But with the help of Allah, alhamdulillah, problem will be solved, inshallah. Now, Allah also remind us, وَإِذَا سَأَلَكَ عِبَادِي عَنِّي فَإِنِّي قَرِيبٌ أُجِيبُ دَعْوَةَ الدَّاعِ إِذَا دَعَانِ فَلْيَسْتَجِيبُوا لِي وَلْيُؤْمِنُوا بِي لَعَلَّهُمْ يَرْشُدُونَ. Now we have all the guidance from Allah, all the reminder from Allah. What to do if you encounter this problem? First thing, Allah is informing us through His Prophet Muhammad ﷺ to tell us, if any one of us asks, where is Allah? Ask about God. Allah said to the Prophet, tell them, Inni Karib, I am close to them, very close. And I always respond to people who call upon me. This is what Allah said to us. He is there to respond to us as long as you call upon Him. But we have forget Allah all the time. We call on our friend when we have some problem. You telephone your friend. Oh, my brother, oh, my sister, oh, my friend. You have to call Allah. Why not you call Allah? But Allah remind us. He never break His promise. He said, you call upon me, I am going to respond. فَلْيَسْتَجِيبُوا لِي. But Allah said, if you want me to respond fast to your need, you do what I want you to do first. You just got to do what Allah wants you to do. And when you do what Allah wants you to do, and you believe that Allah is going to help you, He is sure to help you. So there are two things involved. One, you must call upon Him, and when you call upon Him, you must do what He wants you to do first. Like if you want a salary, you must work first. Then at the end of the month, you get your salary. You cannot go to anybody and say, you pay me first my salary, then tomorrow I start work. Nobody will do that. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants you to just do what He wants you to do, and then inshallah He will respond to your needs. And again, brother and sister, you must remember that we learn from problem. Without problem, we might not have a lot of experience, and we may not have a lot of knowledge, because wara al-kul mas'ala sa'ada. Always behind all problem there is some happiness, then some goodness. Only you must have patience. Yeah, you have stress, you have problem, but you need patience to overcome all these problems. Without understanding the nature of this world, I mean the sunnatullah, then you will not be able to overcome your problem properly. And in the same time, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala show us many, many guidance. Why we always have problem, I just try to remind you and also myself about the following saying of the Prophet. It is from Abi Abbas Sahal ibn Sa'di as-Sa'idi, the companions of the Prophet. He said, a man came to the Prophet and asked the Prophet, guide me, direct me to something that if I do it, I will get Allah's love and I will get the people's love. The Prophet said to this guy, Izhad fi dunya yuhibbuk Allah. Renounce the worldly thing. Meaning, don't be too attached to this world. Allah will love you. Wajhad fima inda nas yuhibbuk an-nas. Don't be envy and jealous about what people have. Whatever people have is their risky. You are contented with what you are, what you have. People will love you. The problem of the stress today, because we always compare ourselves with people who are above us. When the Prophet have reminded us, don't be greedy, do what you can. And then he said, Unzur ila man asfala minkum. Always look down upon people who are worse than you. Wala tanzur man fawqak. Don't always compare yourself with people who are higher than you. Then you will feel, oh, why I'm so poor. There are people who are poorer than you. When you compare yourself with people who are worse than you, you become contented and you always shukr. Again, shukr is a very important element to overcome stress. Stress is always there. Don't have to. Nobody can run away from stress. You remember what happened to our prophet before he was appointed a prophet. He looked at the problem in Mecca. The people is so, and of course they are unjust. The people always fight against each other. There's no peace. That's why the prophet went to the Ghar, Hira, went to the mount, to the cave of Hira, for what? To find some peace, to find a solution. Until Allah gave him hidayah, gave him the Quran. Alhamdulillah, with the Quran, people remember Allah, and then all the stress is been solved. Alhamdulillah. Now again, shukr is very important. You must be contented with what you have. Be thankful to Allah. Why? Because Allah promised us, La in shakartum la azidannakum. Wala in kafartum inna azabi la shadid. Why stress? Because you always feel not enough. You want more and more. Like the Prophet did say, the children of Adam is very greedy. If they have one goal of valley, if Allah asks, do you want another goal of valley? Of course, he will still want it. Even he cannot make use of that. He can even spend that. But he still want more and more. Because by nature, sunnatullah, we have that greed in us. That means we are people who are always not shukr. Now what is shukr here? Allah said, La in shakartum la azidan. If you are thankful to whatever Allah have given you, Allah is going to add more blessing upon what He have given you. Not only what He have given, He will bless whatever He have given you. And this is where we are lacking. This is where most of the Muslims forget. They want more, but they forget about the blessing. Now, if you have little, if there's blessing, that little will stay with you. If you have more, but you are not shukr, the more also will make you stress and make you worry. Now Allah has reminded us, La in shakartum la azidanakum. If you are thankful to me, whatever I have given you, I will bless. And I will add more blessing towards what I have given you. And this is more important. More property without blessing, and property with blessing is always better. This is what lacking among the ummah. We forget about Allah's blessing. We only ask one, I want more and more and more. You have more money, you have more problem. But if you have the blessing with Allah, the more money will not develop more problem. In the same time, wala in kafartum inna azabi la shadid. You see what Allah said? If you are not thankful to Allah, if you are not thankful to the ni'mah that Allah have given you, you just wait. I'm going to take it back bit by bit. And Allah have proved it to us. Those who are not thankful to Allah with the wealth that Allah given them, Allah take it bit by bit, and then they become bankrupt. Those who have power but they are not thankful to Allah, they do not use this way to please Allah, Allah take away the power from them. You have seen in your lifetime, we have seen all these things happen. Now what is important, what we learn, when a person says he makes shukr, meaning whatever Allah given you, you thank Him, and in the same time you'll be patient. You may not understand why Allah make this happen to me. But Allah knows best. Maybe He wants you to learn something in life. He is educating us. So when Allah wants to educate us, He wants us to go through some hardship. So we understand what is real life. And when we understand what is real life, when people are having the same problem, we are able to help them better because we have the experience. That's why the Prophet ﷺ reminds us, Al-mu'min allazi yukhalitu an-nas wa yasbir ala azahim khairu min al-mu'min allazi la yukhalitu an-nas wa la yasbir ala azahim. A true believer, a mu'min, who always mix around with people and have all the patience to overcome the problem that they encounter, that he's exposed to, is always better than a mu'min who just stay away from the society, from the community, from people, and he have no patience in dealing with the problem. Now, Islam always teaches us not to run away from problem, because you cannot run away from problem. But Islam teaches us to confront problem. With what? With patience, with dua, ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for help. There are many things. No one can help us except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we must keep on asking Allah, oh Allah, help me. Even you want to make zikr, can you remember, brother and sister? Even you want to do good thing to remember Allah, you said what? The Prophet said, Allahumma inni ala dhikrika wa shukrika wa husni ibadah. Oh Allah, help me to remember you. We want to remember Allah, but sometimes because of problem, stress, we forget Him. So we must keep on asking, oh Allah, help me to remember you in good time and bad time. We don't remember Allah only in bad time. When good time, we forget Him. Wa ala shukrika. Oh Allah, help me to be thankful to you. How can we show our gratitude towards Allah? When you have money, you must spend some money in the cause of Allah. That's how you show your your gratitude towards Allah. When you are healthy, you use your health to serve Allah's religion. When you are strong, you help the weak one. When you have knowledge, you teach the one who have no knowledge. That's how you show your thanks towards Allah. You make use of what Allah have given you to serve in the way of Allah, to serve people. That's why we in my country, Malaysia, we call ourselves Al-Qadim, means serving mankind. We are here to serve. We train ourselves to serve people. We are prepared to serve people for the sake of Allah. We don't expect any reward from that. Allah will is very kind to reward you, inshallah. We want Allah's reward, because we need His reward in the hereafter. There's no more money in the akhirah. It's between you and Allah. If you're good deeds, alhamdulillah, that is your wealth, that is your property. So fellow brother and sister, if you have any problem, any stress, please don't keep on entertaining the problem and forget to ask Allah to help you. Sometimes problem is ni'mah, meaning sometimes problem is a blessing. I give you one example. If you never fall sick, what do you understand by sickness? Now, if you don't have any headache before, if somebody have headache, how can you help him? You can't help him because you have not gone through this difficulty. But once you have gone through some experience, you know, when I have headache, I went to see a doctor, he gave me this medication. And after taking this pill, alhamdulillah, I feel relieved. Now, if somebody had the same problem come to you, you say, no problem, brother, I know. Take this pill. This pill will help you with your headache. You have a tummy ache. If you never have tummy ache before, how can you help others? By having the experience in you, you can help others better. So everything, there is always a wisdom behind it. There is some good behind whatever trial that Allah put us in. Whatever problem you encounter, please remember, problem is wisdom. Problem is information. Problem is knowledge. You learn everything from problem. That's why the Prophet never teaches Ummah to run away from problem, but to stay put and then ask Allah to open our heart, open our mind to understand the problem and seek Allah's guidance to solve your problem. Your problem will be solved, brother and sister, inshallah. Financial problem, domestic problem, inshallah solved. But come back to Allah. Why? Because Allah who created us, He knows our problem. And then He have ready the remedy for us, like what the Prophet said. Inna Allah nazzala dawa dawa fatadawu wa la tadawu bil haram. Example. This hadith I'm trying to share with just an example. Allah is the one who sent down disease. All the sickness that is happening, the virus is part of Allah, sunnatullah. When Allah said be is be. Without Allah's will, it cannot happen. But in the same time, the Prophet said, Allah prepared the remedy for you. Every sickness, there is a cure, except old age and death. So the Prophet said, "Fatadawu wa la tadawu bilha." So seek for medication. Seek for medication, but don't look for any haram way of medication. You see, mashallah. Oh, there's always an answer to your problem in Islam. There's nothing that you face in this world that Allah don't guide you into it. The only thing that you must come to Allah. How to do that? Listen to what Allah said. Ya ayyuhallazina amanu udkhulu fis silmi kaffah wa la tattabi'u khutuwati syaitan innahu lakum aduwwun mubin. What Allah wants you to do is, O you who believe, O Muslim, enter the religion of Allah totally, completely, fully, with your heart, with your mind, with your body, everything you must submit to Allah. Don't follow the footsteps of shaitan. Shaitan is the one who play around with us, keep us worried this, worried that, fear this, fear that, phobia this, phobia that, until we have no peace. And you must remember, Allah said again, peace belong to Him. Allahumma antas salam wa minkas salam fahayyina bis salam. We say, oh Allah, you are peace. Peace belong to you. So we're going to come back to Allah, ask Allah to give us the peace. And the best way, like what Allah said, Allah bi zikrillahi tatma'inul qulub. Allah said, by remembering Allah, not only with your lips, but with your heart and your action, you have the peace of mind. You have peace of heart. When your heart is at ease, your mind is peaceful. And when it's peace, whatever happens is no more a problem. When people say, a problem to us, no, it's not a problem. Why? Because we have Allah with us. We have the Sunnah to guide us. So fellow brother and sister in Islam, we are very lucky. Or we can say we have been blessed. Maybe it's wrong for me to use the word lucky, but it's better for us to use, we have been blessed by Islam. It's a great ni'mah for all of us. So if you do not know how to solve your problem or any stress, don't go to any doctor. The first thing you go is, you go to see a scholar who understands the Quran and the Sunnah, because that is the best remedy for stress, worry, tension. But of course, if you have some injury on your hand, stomach pain, ulcer, cancer, you got to see the doctor, because Allah said, "Fas'alu ahli zikr in kuntum la ta'lamun." Ask people who are specialized in that area, people of knowledge, if you do not know. If your car is having problem, don't go and ask the imam. Go and ask the mechanic. That's what Allah said. Don't everything just leave it to Allah. No, He wants you to look for some remedy. Solve your problem. But if you have this ache, the real body ache, you must look for a doctor who know about the bones, about yourself. But you don't just everything leave it to the imam. But when you have spiritual problem, stress is more on the spiritual problem and mental, then you must ask the imam, the great scholar, how do Allah want us to solve this problem? And when you follow the way of Allah, you will see, mashallah, one by one, all the problem will dissolve. One by one, it dissolves. I have my own experience before. It's not easy. When I first become a Muslim, I got to suffer for a while, for 4 years. I have a hard time being a new Muslim. It's not easy sometimes. A lot of the born Muslim, I think you are more blessed, because you don't have to go through that kind of suffering that we Muslim or the revert got to go through. Our family don't understand why we choose Islam. Our friends don't understand us. People look down on us. People talk bad about us. But we have no choice, because we believe that Islam is a true religion of Allah. Sometimes born Muslim also do not welcome us. It's very sad. But alhamdulillah, we have gone through some hard time. After 4 years of hardship, we learn so much. At least now if people talk to us about problem, we say, oh, there's no problem. I've gone through worse than that. So this is the ni'mah. When you have gone through an overcome problem in your life, it is your asset. It's more worthy than dollar and cent. People who know how to solve his problem and help other people to solve problem is more important than any doctor. Because every day we have problem. Not every day we fall sick. And scholars of Islam is more important than just any other person in this society. Because the right scholar of Islam will know how to guide you, help you to solve your problem. Yeah, your worry, your fear. We know we have all this problem because Allah has said, وَلَنَبْلُوَنَّكُمْ بِشَيْءٍ مِنَ الْخَوْفِ وَالْجُوعِ وَالنَّقْصِ مِنَ الْأَمْوَالِ وَالْأَنفُسِ وَالثَّمَرَاتِ وَبَشِّرِ الصَّابِرِينَ. Allah knows. What we are going to do is, I'm going to test you with fear. Now a lot of Muslims live in fear. People who are not yet Muslim, mankind always live in fear. Fear of this, fear of this, fear of poverty, fear of what you said, fear of sickness, darkness. You have so many fear. Allah said, I am the one who tests you. Waju, hunger, naqsimina amwal. Poor, you have no money. It's also a trial from Allah. Wal anfus, your loved one pass away. Was samarat, and all the other provision. But what did Allah say at the end? He said, wa bashiri sabirin. Allahu Akbar. Wa bashiri sabir. One of the best way to overcome stress when you encounter any, after calling Allah, don't forget to worship Him. Of course, you don't call Allah and then you don't make salah. You must perform salah. You make sujood. And then you have patience. And Allah promised you. Allah promised you. Allah said, فَاذْكُرْنِي أَذْكُرُكُمْ وَاشْكُرُوا لِي وَلَا تَكْفُرُونَ. And then Allah said, what? وَاسْتَعِينَ بِالصَّبْرِ وَالصَّلَاةِ إِنَّ اللَّهَ مَعَ الصَّابِرِينَ. Remember me so that I remember you. Be thankful to me. Do not be ungrateful to Allah. Whatever you have given you, alhamdulillah. And then Allah said, call upon me with patience and salah. Inna Allaha ma'a sabirin. At the end of the day, Allah said, I am always with those who have patience. Hello, brother and sister, please increase your patience. I ask Allah, Allahumma zidna iman wa sabr. May Allah strengthen our iman and increase our patience so that we can face all the trial in this world, the stress and problem and worry, yeah, with the guidance of Allah and the teaching of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. Amin ya Rabbil Alamin. Wabillahi tawfiqi wal akhir da'wana anil hamdulillahi Rabbil Alamin. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta. Astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.